So today on Deep Dives, it's episode 122. We have a guest. We're also talking about music stuff. We're talking a little bit about Bible stuff as well, I'm sure. But honestly, I have no clue where it's going to go today. But that's the goal, is the music stuff, special guest, Bible stuff. So we'll see how it goes. Your guess is as good as mine.
That's really our MO.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's what we do. We sit down and we have great thoughts. I mean, but in every iteration of this podcast, we're up to about 300 and something.
Right.
Because we've had several names and ways we've done podcasts. We're at 122 now with the deep dives. And in my opinion, this is one of the reasons we keep doing it. We might change a little bit in the future to get the word of Christ out a little bit more, because that's our goal. That's our ultimate goal, is to do that, of course. We just have fun doing it.
We were talking about our viewership up, changing our name to the Joe Hogan podcast.
Yes, just for people to show up and realize quickly that we're not Joe Rogan. But anyway.
But it gets those clicks.
Right. Yeah, it does. Our guest today is a person that, forgive me for sounding mushy, I'm a real sensitive guy. She owns a piece of my heart. Just not like my wife in a different way.
Right.
There's nothing that she could ever do or anything I could ever do to change that. Do you agree with that?
That is correct.
My cousin Cindy is here with us. And I'm just happy to have you. I think Josh is happy. And Chris also.
It's good to be, it's good to have at least one more person that owns a piece of Destry's heart.
That's right. These two, it's a broken heart anyway. It's got scars in it. It's got artificial things in there.
Right.
It can only do so much. But anyway, just a real quick synopsis of our relationship together. I have a picture, and I'm going to try to find it. I possess it.
You do.
I have not lost it, but I don't know where it is. It's in my house somewhere. It's a picture of my first birthday with you right next to me. Now think about that. That's 62 years ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You were sitting right next to me, and your mom's holding you up, my Aunt Betty, and my mother's holding me up. We have the cone birthday things on our head, and I saw that and went, oh my gosh, we have known each other all my life.
That's right.
That's just unbelievable. So Cindy is more than a cousin. I say cousin because it names it, but it doesn't identify the affection that I have for you, for sure, Cindy. But anyway, we have you here. We're going to talk to you a little bit about your life, about music. Josh is going to do some Bible study stuff, and we'll take it from there. Sound okay?
Sounds cool to me.
All right. So we're not supposed to identify where you live just because you're near Tennessee.
I'm near Tennessee, but I live in Mississippi.
You live in Mississippi now.
And the little town that I live in doesn't actually, I guess, populate, as I looked it up, because I was like, what is the population of where I live? Because we don't have a post office, we don't have a stop sign or a red light. So the little town that's next to us is where my physical address shows.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
You're out in the country a little bit.
I'm out in the country.
And because you're out in the country, you've got some animals out
I
there.
have a few animals.
Tell us about that. What is going on with
I
that?
actually made a list.
All
You
right.
asked how many. All right, would y'all like to guess, Destry, how many
many
do you
animals?
think I have?
I haven't been out there in a while. I'm guessing 25, 30.
Okay, higher than that.
278.3.
Oh, come on.
A little bit less than that.
Chris, what do you think?
187.
Okay, so just to start off, we've got about 200 chickens.
Okay, so I was close.
You were close. That's what
Wow.
I'm saying. Yeah.
Now we
I
just
have-
need 87.3 to make my numbers.
Yeah, I have one large quarter horse. I have 3 little mini horses. I have 4 donkeys, 1 pig, 6 geese, 6 guinea birds, 2 cats, 2 large dogs, 1 small dog, and 4 sheep, which adds up to 230 animals
Wow.
that I get
Well, the
up.
quarter horse rounds to 0.3.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's
only a
true.
quarter.
Quarter of a horse.
He's a quarter point, yeah.
That's funny, John.
So my day starts out after I get Buddy off and running to work, which now that I have retired,
Yay. Is it hard to get him up?
it's later and later he leaves the house. So.
I think he's a short timer.
Yeah.
Isn't he? He's ready to go. He's ready to retire.
Yes, he's a couple. He's your age, so he just turned 62 this year too. So,
He's a young man.
Yeah. So I get up in the mornings, get him off to work, and then I go to the barn.
And then what? How long does it take you to feed and water everybody?
Right, so I'm down there a good 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
Getting everybody out and going and changing waters and feeding and gathering eggs because we get about 6 dozen eggs a day. So,
Wow.
yeah, so we sell eggs and honey.
Good gracious.
And my husband is a beekeeper on the side, so that's his happy place. So, yeah.
He's
so-
been doing that for 4 or 5 years? or has it
No,
been
longer than
Oh
that.
my gosh,
yeah.
time's flying.
So I think 13, 14 years now. Yeah.
No kidding.
So at our house, he's got about 30 hives, and then he places hives on property. So he's got some at a blueberry farm,
Okay.
and then he's got some at a couple of other places. People paying to have the bees pollinate their gardens and all. So.
Okay.
Wow. How
I have a
cool.
question about the guineas that you said
Okay.
you have, and the reason is some land that my wife and I bought out in Beulah. Our friend built a house on the adjacent property. She has a game camera out there, and she sent us a picture the other day. It was a gang of guinea fowl just walking across like they own the place.
Right.
And I've grown up around them, but like I've never understood why people eat chicken eggs but not guinea fowl eggs. Do you know why? I don't know why.
Other than the size,
Yeah.
they're like
Yeah, they're really small.
that
but like,
big. I
yeah,
mean,
but people
you
eat quail
could,
eggs.
but our guineas do not lay where I can find them.
Oh, okay.
So right now we've got some sitting somewhere, and I can't find her because
Yeah.
we've got a couple of hens missing. But
Right.
we pretty much just keep them, as you know how loud they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're like watchdogs.
Are
Right.
they?
You know?
I love guineas.
And plus they, eat all the
bugs
all
and
the
stuff.
bugs.
Nice.
But what's so funny about them is at nighttime, our chicken's free range.
Right.
So they've got an electric door that opens up and they can all leave and come back in. But the guineas, for some reason, will go and they'll jump up on top of the barn and eat everything that's on top of the barn and then jump down, and that's how they get into
Yeah.
the chicken coop. So. It's
Okay.
kind of, when you're in the barn, it's kind of creepy. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Signs. Have
Yes.
y'all seen?
Yeah.
When they're walking on top of the house,
Right.
that noise. When you're
Sounds-
down there and it's dark and that noise is going on, you're like, oh,
Yeah. Watching them cracks me up though.
Yeah.
Watching guinea fowl. I don't
oh,
know
they
why.
just run so fast, and one sees something. So
Do they?
I love it when they do the conga line on the
Yes.
property. They'll run one direction,
Let's say-
they'll pivot, and they'll run
Run
back
it-
the other direction,
yeah.
pivot. Run. You won't find a bug though.
nope.
Yep.
Wow. What an
Destry and I had a
advantage.
cousin, Pat.
Oh my gosh, I remember exactly what you're talking about. That was
Somebody had guineas down there from where they lived, and she drove a Jeep, and she would do her best going down the road to try to hit a guinea. She just thought that was a funny thing, and to make them all fly. And
she did it once whenever we were in the car, and that's I loved Pat. She's passed
she's
now. but
she's
I
no
loved
longer
that.
with us. But
It was even as a kid, that was against everything that I stood for. We just ran over a guinea. Why did we do that?
why are you? We're screaming. Ah! There's a bird.
I thought she was going to stop.
Yeah.
And she never. Anyway, they were having a feud with the family, is what was happening. I think is what she said.
So
but
she-
anyway,
To take it out on their birds.
yeah, I
She did.
guess
She did.
that's
She
what
was
that's what
teach 'em.
happened. So you said you turn out so your horses are they in a barn,
Right.
and then you turn them out to pasture.
We
Okay.
have 60 acres of land, so we keep the animals or the horses up at nighttime. We were keeping the donkeys up also, but here recently they're doing a lot of building around us, and so the coyotes are starting to come out. And we've got 2 Anatolian shepherds. I don't know if y'all know they're very big dogs.
Big white dogs, right? Are those the ones? Those aren't the
Now,
ones.
those are Great Pyrenees. We
Oh.
don't have the Great Pyrenees anymore
okay.
because of all the hair. We now have Anatolians.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so we've started, Buddy's noticed on the game cameras that we've got some coyotes coming up. So we've started making sure the donkeys are out at nighttime also because they will take care of them.
Donkeys will?
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
They're a guardian animal. also.
Wow. How about that? I didn't know that. So they're after your chickens and guineas and things? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the guineas will alert the pack. The donkeys will come in with reinforcements.
Man, what a system. That's awesome. You had, what was it? A camel.
We did have a
have a
camel,
camel?
Mandy.
Mandy.
At our church, we did a living drive-through nativity, and we supplied all the animals, including Mandy the camel, who was she was 3 months old when we got her. So she was probably as tall as I was then, so 5 foot.
Oh, wow.
And of course, we had all these sheeps, and at the time, we had miniature donkeys. So she thought
My
she
wife
was.
loves miniature donkeys.
She thought she was that size. She didn't understand when she would come running down the hill to the barn that she was this 9-foot animal. And I don't know if you've noticed when camels run, their legs go side to side. They don't do like a horse
Yep.
So she would come running down and come running in the barn with her legs going side to side. And
Cute. I never met her. I'd like to have. You still have, you have had horses your entire life.
well, I asked Mom before I left, I said, now when did I get Petey, which was my
Yep.
pony? And I got him for my 5th birthday.
Your 5th birthday. Okay.
My 5th birthday.
Wow.
So I had him when Buddy and I moved to Mississippi. We still had him. So we were married in 94. So calculate. And I got pregnant when we moved down there. And I wanted my baby to have a picture made with my pony. But unfortunately, he passed away at Christmas, and my daughter was born in April.
Oh,
so,
goodness gracious.
So I almost
did it.
So,
How old was Petey?
well, I was.
could do the number, I
I
guess.
was 32 when I
Okay.
had Allie. So if that.
Yeah.
So
My dad, when he was younger, he grew up on a farm in South Dakota, and he had his horse was this horse named Twilight. He loved the horse, and but when he got out of high school, he ended up joining the Navy, spending 4 years there. Eventually came back home and started his career in driving truck, and so he was driving a cattle hauler, and so he'd every now and then pick up, loads of cattle, loads of horses, whatever. And usually the horses were these were the old horses that were going to be taken off, whatever. And he told me there was one where he noticed one of the horses was Twilight, and that kind of
yeah.
messed with him a little bit. Taking my horse off to, I don't want to think about that.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Gracious. Well, you don't need horses, but I say many times, if you're a gun owner, it shouldn't be just, I've got a gun and I carry it. It should be a part of your life, right? That's why we teach the Wednesday night class. And if you're a horse owner, it shouldn't be a part-time thing. You need that. It needs to be your life, and it was your life, Uncle Bill's life, Aunt Betty's life for a long time.
Right. Yeah, I competed. I did Western Pleasure. I did saddle. I rode everything. So until I started driving, my parents took me to horse shows just about every night of the week.
Every night of the week.
Every night of the week.
My gosh.
Just about. We were, because there were so many saddle clubs in the area that you could go to, and that was our life, and that's all I did.
Yeah.
So,
And you're the only child, so
Yeah.
you know, you got the attention,
Right.
right?
and the thing is, you one of the questions you had put down was one of my fondest memories of childhood.
Yes.
And my parents, can you imagine nowadays, my parents would take and drop me off at our barn, which was, I don't know, probably 20, 30 miles away from where we lived. Our horses weren't at our house.
Right.
They would drop me off in the morning and they would go to work. And I would be there all day long.
Yeah.
And I would ride my pony, and I could go in the woods and ride him. I could go through a gravel pit and through some woods there was a store like way far away. I
Right.
mean,
So that was just your babysitter.
and
Wow.
you know,
Man.
they would come when they would get home from work and
Yeah.
come out to the barn that night. And
Wow, how about that? That was your life. That was what you
I
did.
mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't 10 years old, you know,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't imagine.
Right. But nothing ever happened to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
there was no thought of that even happening back then.
No, I mean, that was just a normal, you know, and there would be people coming and going because there were several barns where, you know, people had barns where we kept our horses at. But, yeah.
I learned to ride a motorcycle in that area.
Yeah.
And behind that barn, I learned to ride a motorcycle. I think it was a Suzuki or Kawasaki 125, something
Yeah.
like that.
Like Kawasaki,
A
yeah.
black one. But anyway, wow, we got a lot of history. So I remember going into your house, and there wasn't a couple of trophies. There was a trophy room, and there were other trophies pretty much everywhere you looked. An estimate, how many trophies, how many titles? Let's talk about titles. What kind of titles did you win back in the day?
Well, you would earn points for, you know, when you would win at a club. So, I mean, I was high point many, many, many times.
Okay.
I don't even know how many trophies I won.
There
I
were
know,
hundreds.
I
What
know
were the
it.
competitions?
Oh,
What were the competitions?
well, like I would ride in a pony class on my pony, and then they would have quarter horse classes, and I'd ride that, and then I would ride a big walking horse. And so I might ride in 3 or 4 classes a night, and then I started barrel racing.
Ah, okay.
So that's my true love is barrel racing. So as I got older, I started barrel racing. But one of the most prized trophy I ever got was Mississippi, Tennessee, and Arkansas they had their own clubs, and then the top people out of those clubs would come once a year, and you would compete in the tri-state
Okay.
show. And I was on my pony. I had qualified, and I was on my pony. And Arkansas did something a little bit different than what Tennessee did, and you had to back your pony up like a big quarter horse does in the arenas. Our ponies, they didn't make us do that. So my pony backed up about 2 or 3 steps, and he was like, I'm not doing this. And so I won reserve champion on him. And the judge came to me, and he was like, I had you winning the whole time, except your pony didn't back up enough steps. And I was like, I'm just glad he backed up one. But, you know, and I got this trophy in reserve, and it was as big as I was. And
When I was a kid, my parents used to take me to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo.
yeah.
And in other like small rodeos around town. But I used to love watching the barrel racing. And when I was really little, like maybe 5, 6 years old, I remember like setting up like 3 points in our living room and running like I was the horse. I was barrel racing the horse in the living room. My mom just cracking up laughing because I had the gallop down and everything.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
I know. So the horse that I have, you know, horses, they're a part of our life. I mean, my quarter horse that I have now, we don't ride him. We've never rode him. He just lives there. If you come to the Martin Zoo, you just live there until. And since I've retired, I had told Buddy I really wanted to get another horse. I don't want to compete. I just want one that I can get on and go ride. And he just keeps putting it off and putting it off. And I finally asked him, I was like, "Why? You get everything you want. All I want's a horse." And he's like, "Cindy."
So selfish.
But he was like, if something was to happen to you.
It's true. You wouldn't know how to act.
I was like, all right, for one, in all the years, did you ever see me fall off a horse?
Right,
He was like, well, no, but so yeah, for
Have you
Christmas.
seen my trophy?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. At my house right now, I've got all the big trophies, I guess, that I had won, and I've got probably 50 or 60. I mean, I've just got boxes and boxes and boxes that, why do I have them? But,
I know.
but my mom was like, they're yours.
He moved out.
Yeah.
Here you go.
So for Christmas, Buddy bought me a horse.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in my stocking. Thought it was real
He
funny.
ain't right, man.
No.
Something needs to
Like
talk
going
to
to
him.
Tractor Supply and buying a tractor, which they don't sell tractors. But they have little plastic ones.
Right.
You can buy that all day long.
Exactly.
That's funny. Well, maybe he'll get you a horse sometime soon. That'd be fun. I liken it to my cycling. That I hear you. You don't want to compete anymore. You just want
No.
to get on and ride. And it's been a transition for me to get on a bike and just ride.
Right.
I'm always in. I have to fight myself not being in race mode. Okay, Destry, there's nobody around. You're not racing. Just ride your bike. Do you think it'll be the same thing with you? You think that transition will be difficult?
I can't say that once I got on my horse and I'm walking and trotting, there might be in that open area.
Right.
That,
Let's see if I can
let
climb
me
that
just
tree.
see how fast we can go from point A to point B.
Just to try it out.
You know.
I mean, just for the fun. I get
Exactly.
it.
I have a weird
understand.
psychological question. So my dad, who grew up on a farm and loved horses as well, you know how like as humans we tend to like anthropomorphize things. Like we'll name a ship after a woman or something like that. Well, my dad, I don't know what the equivalent horse anthropomorphize or whatever, but like like when he rode a motorcycle, that was his horse. His 18-wheeler that he drove, his whole life, that was his horse. Do you do things like that as well?
Oh, for sure. I mean, mowing the yard now. I have a zero turn, and don't think I don't.
But it's funny because it's
But-
almost like he'd have like the same type of like relationship. Like this is my horse, and this is
Gotcha.
Yeah.
like,
Well, when I
care
would
about
ride,
it.
I would get in my happy place, and just not. You just don't think, and so now mow the yard is like, well, okay, this is kind of.
Kind of mood, yes.
So I try
I
to
do.
take special care of my lawnmower, and because my front yard is 3 acres,
give it
so
the fresh grass.
yeah, give it. Look how pretty that is. Let's go
right.
there. So.
That's your horse. Well, where you grew up, we wouldn't visited. Not every summer, but I remember my memories are going to visit you during the summer. You and Aunt Betty and Uncle Bill. And it was a bigger city, so there was a lot of music coming through there. And whether you know it or not, you influenced me in my musical taste. I told these guys the other day, and you may have heard it, that you introduced me to REO Speedwagon. Do you remember? Do you have any recollection of that?
Well, it's funny you should say that.
Uh-oh.
Because y'all think Destry talks music now. I was going through some old stuff and I was like, what is this? And I found this letter
Oh, my gosh.
that you had written me.
This is my beautiful handwriting in pencil from Lumberton, North Carolina to Cindy. Wow, look at
So
this.
he hasn't seen this, or
have
I
never
didn't tell
seen
him I was
this.
giving him this, but
Oh,
when
my
I read it, I just died laughing.
When was
like,
this?
See it on there?
The postmark is, okay.
Well, without
The postmark is 78.
Okay.
So Destry was 14 and I was
This is a year before I was born.
oh my gosh. So we got a 2-page letter, and without reading it, I can see the letters Styx, which is a band in bold, BTO, Barton Turnover Drive. Let's see. Oh wow, it's front and back. How about that?
I think you even mentioned REO Speedwagon.
I did.
I think.
I got
maybe.
Kiss, Styx, Doobie Brothers, Is REO Speedwagon in there somewhere?
Maybe.
Justin Timberlake in there?
Justin Timberlake is not in here. If I said REO Speedwagon, let's see. I'll have to read this off air and see. It does say REO Speed. Oh my gosh!
I know. Isn't
Wow,
that
I'm so
hilarious?
glad that you brought this. Thank you. That's incredible. There you go.
So yes, we'll read it.
Okay.
We'll read it later. But yeah, he
Oh.
drew the Kiss logo and the whole
That's
So
what it was,
so
man.
he has talked music.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I remember I was in the back of the car of a hot rod car with you and somebody in the front seat, and you were playing REO Speedwagon, the live version of something, and I remember thinking, man, this is my kind of music. This is rock and freaking roll, man. It was just jamming, and I was in the back, and I don't know what kind of speakers they were, but I couldn't hear y'all talking. I was just listening to REO Speedwagon. This is great. Anyway, that's how you introduced me to REO Speedwagon.
Yeah.
Whether you know or not. But my question is, what band, you went to a lot of live shows.
Yeah.
Which ones are the highlights, or which ones can you think about and just say that you went to
Well, okay. I was
So-
thinking back.
in the 70s? This is
Well, in 1976. I mean 1976.
that's a good year.
Yeah. No, I was thinking it was a big. It was a big.
It was a big year.
A big year. In 1976, Blue Oyster Cult, ZZ Top, and Leonard Skinner played at what's the Liberty Bowl now? It was a stadium tour. Okay, 76. I was only 12 years old, and I was rocking out.
there.
Me and my
Wow.
friend Mary were there. Yeah, so I
Okay.
mean, from early on, I listened to Southern rock and roll. Marshall Tucker, Leonard Skinner, all of those bands would come through. I just recently went and saw. I mean, like a couple of months ago, I hadn't been to a concert in forever, but I went and saw Diana Ross
Did you?
at the Orpheum. And the lady is 80 plus years old, and she can still belt them out
She's
just
sounding good.
like.
All
Because I
right.
had seen her on New Year's Eve. She was on one of those rocking, Dick Clark's rocking, and I thought they kind of let her sing a little bit. And I thought they were just, plugging something in, but she can actually still just really sing. So I was a big Motown fan also,
Okay.
so listening to that. I think one of the funnest concerts I've been to since Buddy and I have been married, we went and saw David Crowder at the Caverns.
Yeah.
Have you heard of that, or have
Well,
you been
I know who
there?
David Crowder is, yeah.
Yeah. Most definitely.
I
Right.
haven't been to the caverns, though.
Okay, it's actually a cave it's in East Tennessee. It's
Yeah.
like
Okay.
south of
I've driven by
Nashville
it,
and
but I've never been
Murfreesboro
there.
down there. You actually go down into a cave,
Wow.
and the acoustics in it are just unbelievable.
Have to be, right?
And just seeing Crowder just play and have a good time and listening to that type of, of course it's Christian music, but his is
It's like very folk.
It is.
right,
Yes.
right,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Whereas Buddy likes listening to bluegrass and stuff
That's
like
what
that.
That's what I'm into, yeah.
Yeah, so
David Crowder would be great in concert, I would imagine.
he is.
He's clean. You can hear his words. You know what I mean. It's good music too, but it doesn't crowd out the lyrics. And of course, he's talking about Christ and.
Well, he's a Crowder, so
He's a Crowder. Yes. I introduced my mom to him by saying, "See this guy? And he's got a big old beard, big old mustache. He's one of the top Christian artists." Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
You don't know by somebody looks these days. How about? Have you ever seen the Grateful Dead?
District. I'm not a deadhead.
Okay, I got
I'm
you.
sorry.
No, that's okay.
I just never. Well, I know. And listening to you talk, I think I missed out a lot. I just never was in that.
I understand.
That realm. I was.
It was
doing the southern.
Right.
Right.
And whenever I look back at it, I was watching Woodstock this week. I thought I had watched the documentary Woodstock, but what I watched was the documentary about putting Woodstock together. I didn't watch the concert Woodstock, so I bought the Woodstock concert, and I'm looking at the people in the crowd. I'm going, I wouldn't have fit in there. I like keeping my clothes on. I like being dry. Mud's good if I'm on my bike, but other than that, and that wasn't who I was. Too young to begin with, but it's a respect. It's really the second push of Grateful Dead that my buddy Kent and I got in to the Grateful Dead. It was whenever Jerry Garcia was already bearded up with gray hair and all this, and we were able to. But even then, it was still, I felt somewhat out of place, but still in place at the concerts, just so I could go and come back. I didn't live it, so if that's a Deadhead living from one place to another, going to see Dead, that wasn't me. I was the one that left college, skipped exams, went to a show, and then came back home. You know what I mean? That was the Dead who I was. I did. I actually skipped exams. But anyway.
I remember your type when I was in college.
Oh, I was so that type.
When district graduated, I had to go, district, you got to wake up. It's your graduation day.
You did that, didn't you?
I did.
Man. Gosh,
Meanwhile, us nerds
The whole family
hold
is
up
here,
for
district.
hours.
You've got to get up. It's the graduation day.
that was fun. Anyway, so anyway, I did graduate finally. Cindy came to my graduation, and she stayed with me for a week after that, which was a blast. I mean, we were developing our testimonies. Let's just be honest.
For a fact.
That's what we were doing. We
For
were
a
developing
fact,
testimony.
yes.
And I don't know if I ever told you this or not, but when y'all were traveling down to see me, I still didn't know if I was going to graduate. I was waiting on results of one of my exams, statistics and systems and statistics. I liked it so much I took it twice. and that grade determined if I was going to graduate or not. And I didn't get that until y'all were more than halfway down. I don't know what to do. They already left. Whatever.
Be a good visit.
It'll be fun. Thank
Stepping
God.
out in faith.
Gosh, thank God I graduated. Anyway, what other kind of music did you see? There a lot of Southern rock and roll, but did you ever see like Neil Young or Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young?
Did see Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
I thought so. I thought you did.
I I was more into the guitarist, like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just watched a video of him the other day.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I saw StevieRay Vaughan. I traveled around.
Did you?
Yes.
To see
so
him.
I saw him about 6 times. I actually got his autograph when he came to where I was working. He was sick, and I got the nurse to let me come in the room.
What? No kidding.
When I worked for the Minor Meds, yeah,
Oh, my
he was
God.
doing a concert and he was sick, and they called and wanted to know if he could come in. So
Yes.
yeah, so like Stevie Ray Vaughan and but recently there's a young man that I had been following. His name is Taj Farrant, and I think when he was like 9 was on the Australian America's Got Talent.
Okay.
That's kind of where I started. He started kind of popping up, and so I kind of started following him. And when he was 13, he came to Memphis. And this boy is like Stevie Ray reincarnated. I mean, he can play a guitar.
Nice.
But,
Okay.
yeah, but I was more into the Van Halen, and
Rolling Stones? Did you ever see the Rolling Stones?
I did see the
You saw
Stones at the stadium. Yeah,
I see. That's iconic.
yeah.
That's just iconic.
One of my favorites at the stadium was I saw Paul McCartney and Wings.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Do you prefer electric guitar or acoustic, or does it matter?
Both, but electric.
Okay.
I like a good jam. But yeah, seeing Paul McCartney, that was one of my favorite. I mean, that was when he was in prime, and
Oh, yeah.
Linda was still alive, and
It was just Well, it was certainly post Beatles, but Paul McCartney and Wings they got real big for a while. Man, was it Wings Over the City or something?
They sounded, it was just,
Band on the Run, right? I just love Paul McCartney and Wings as well.
yes.
I know you saw some iconic shows. So you saw the Rolling Stones. This was in the 70s. Hey, Chris, they were pretty popular in the 70s.
Slightly, yeah.
So the
Just
Rolling
slightly.
Stones, you know,
Right.
Rolling Stones, Elvis is the same thing. How did they look? How was that? Was Mick Jagger as charismatic?
oh, for sure.
Was he
Just doing his thing up there, and
making it happen? Huh?
Ronnie and they
Awesome.
all. I sent you a thing on them.
Yeah.
this
What
week.
was right? So what did you send me? What was it? Do you remember?
Well, y'all had been talking about AI, and I don't remember what I had heard it on. Yes, I do. The Today Show was talking about the Rolling Stones coming out with a new album. They're 82 years old, and they're coming out with a new
Talking
album.
about just younger than our mothers.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they were talking about the video for one of their songs, and that they used AI to put their faces on younger bodies
Oh,
for
my
the
gosh.
video.
Is that
Because
right?
who wants to see an 82-year-old Mick up there break a hip with him trying to kick and
I gotta say, I don't object to that.
because I looked and I think they were all in their 80s, and so
They can't move around.
and they can't move around. So they put a band up there on stage and did moves
Oh my god!
for the video, and then they AI puts their face
Yeah.
on that person to make them look like they're back in the 70s
See,
again.
that is totally exactly what we are leaning towards, objecting towards, making something that's not there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Taking something that is there, making it a little bit better. Okay, well that's editing.
Right.
But doing what you're talking about, but they're admitting it at least.
Right.
You know, okay, well, then maybe that's
and
okay.
that I kind of lump that in with, how on like take Star Wars, like the character Jabba the Hutt. It was a guy in a suit with a bunch of ping pong balls over him. They were doing motion capture, and then later they overlaid the Jabba the Hutt character on top of that to make it look like it was something that was real, that actually happened. But everybody knows that was fake. Everybody knows motion capture and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And no one really objects to that.
That's a good point.
And so something like this, like, they're honest about it. We know it's fake. We know it's, that it was their face superimposed over other bodies. There's a long tradition in Hollywood of doing that.
Yeah.
That's different entirely than let's create, like, we've been talking about, let's create something, a brand new band,
Right.
and make people believe these are
good
real
point.
people.
But the other problem of that falls into where you've got the Rolling Stones on stage, like she just said. That some 8-year-old looks and goes, "Wow, that's a cool band." And then all of a sudden they see a real picture of Mick Jagger. He's ancient, and it would blow your mind. And so, that can be deceptive in that
right,
respect.
Right, sure. Have I ever told y'all a story about Aerosmith lead singer? Oh, I can't come up with his name. Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler was interviewed, and he said the interview was asking what it's like to have kids. It was way back in the day. He said, "I'll tell you what, they keep you honest." He said, I'd get off a stage after just thousands of people. We're talking about Aerosmith, not much different than the Rolling Stones. A lot like the Rolling Stones. And he's the front man, and he is getting it, and he's got all these women looking at him, and he is on a high. Boom, boom, boom. The concert's over. He comes backstage, goes out the back door with bodyguards all around him. He gets in the limousine. His little girl is in there, and what he's wearing, his little girl says, "Daddy, that shirt makes you look fat." He says, "There's nothing like something like that will bring you right down to earth." Is that not hilarious? I love that story. And you can imagine, he's where he always shows his drift, and he's got whatever. And I think, "Daddy, that makes you look fat."
Yeah,
Steven
your brother's my
Tyler.
favorite.
Yeah. Aerosmith was actually the first concert I ever went to.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Aerosmith.
I was Imagine this. I was at a horse show out at the fairgrounds, and that night Aerosmith was playing in the Coliseum that
Wow.
was attached to, and the girl's like, "You want to go watch Aerosmith?" And I was like, "Yes." I knew who they were.
Okay.
And we went
You
and
were
rocked it out.
12,
And
13
I was
years
younger
old.
than that.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
yeah, because I had been to a lot of concerts by
Yeah.
the time I went and saw the.
My first concert was at a rodeo. It was Anne Murray.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Mary, you believed in me. That sounds just like her, don't it? So you're married.
I'm married. 32 years.
32 years.
32 years.
Guy named Buddy.
Buddy Martin.
Tell me about Buddy. Tell us about Buddy.
Buddy, he's my best friend.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah,
He's all right.
he's all right. I keep him around. He's the best poppy, that's for sure.
He's the best puppy. So you
To
get
my two granddaughters.
two granddaughters.
To my daughter Allie, who has Ellie and Emery, and her husband Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they just been married 8 years.
How about that? Okay.
Destry was at my house when we moved Allie out of her crib
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and put her in a big bed.
I was there the first night.
And I thought Destry was going to cry because she was
She
this big.
So the bed is long.
It's a
and
twin
narrow,
bed.
right?
It's a regular twin bed.
And I looked in on her over Mom and Dad's shoulder, and she was laying sideways. She was so small, she was laying sideways. I was like, man, that doesn't look right. She looks too small to be in that thing.
But she had started crawling out of her crib. I mean, and so it's like, okay, fall on your head falling out of the crib or put her in a big bed.
So you've been married, you said 32 years?
32 years.
You've been married 27.
27 years tomorrow.
I just did 24.
How about that?
So, if you could like summarize like what it takes to get to 32, what would that be?
Gosh, that's a great question.
Oh, my. A lot of
bunch of-
patience.
All right.
A lot of patience.
Bunch of animals.
Yeah. Having distractions.
Buffer. That's right. It's a long time.
It is a long time and it's hard and you go through periods, but then there's periods that I thank God every morning for giving me Buddy and giving me the life that I have because it could have went very differently. And I'm thankful that it didn't, but it's hard. I mean, marriage is hard. And so when you've accomplished what we have, it's nowadays, that's something to
It is
say
something.
you've been married 10 or more years, you
Right.
know, because it's just so easy to get out of it.
It really is.
Well, it's almost expected nowadays.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a viable option.
Right.
It's one of the first options. It seems, doesn't it? It seems like it's one of the first options.
So with Austin and Allie, they just had their 8th anniversary, you know, and I look at them being parents, and they're good parents, and they're raising their daughters on our property. They have a house built on the back of our property, so we're a little compound. My mom lives next door to them. And then there's Wade, my son,
Yeah. Big, tall, strapping lad.
who's 25, and his competitive team just won state, so he will be coming down to Florida at the end of the month.
Is that right?
to
Fantastic.
Tampa to take his girls' competitive team,
Soccer.
to compete. But he worries about Wade because he doesn't have a girlfriend right now, but he just graduated college. He just got his first real job. He works, he teaches, and he coaches soccer at the high school, and then he's got 2 competitive soccer teams also. So the boy lives
Where'd
and
he date?
breathes
When
soccer.
He doesn't have time to date. It doesn't sound like.
And he's only 25, and I
Yeah.
keep telling Buddy that. I'm like, Buddy, you were 30. I was, 31, 32 when we got married. It's okay. He's got plenty of time, so I would rather him do it right, find the right one,
Right. Mm-hmm.
than rush into something. So.
Yeah, last night it was weird. My wife and I were, because our daughter's home for the summer, and we were all talking, and my wife mentioned that our daughter is the same age that she was when we got engaged.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, and that's weird.
Isn't it? Right. So,
Like, you were way too young, Deb. You weren't supposed to be engaged at that age. if our daughter's the same age now.
Wade seems to me the kind of guy who, look at it in the past, he's never had a problem getting girlfriends. I mean, he's had really very smart and very beautiful girlfriends. And it just seems like it's going to happen. It seems to me, being on the outside as much as I am with him, it seems to me it's going to happen when it's supposed to happen. Dude, this guy's 6'2", 6'3",
Yeah.
thin, muscular, good-looking kid.
Very
man.
handsome
Good-looking
young man.
kid.
So, but if a girl hit on him, flirts with him, he doesn't, half the time he doesn't even know it. He's just so laid back and but we'll be at a restaurant and the waitress, he always gets the refills and we're over
sure.
here, he always gets the free piece of pie or whatever. So and we're like, Wade, he's like, ah.
Yeah, you don't think about it. I didn't know when Donna was pursuing, I don't know, say pursuing me. I didn't know that she was interested, and it just happened. That's kind of the way I'm thinking it will happen with him.
Right.
She'll show up at some of his soccer games. She'll be there. Yeah. She'll make herself available, and he'll finally go, she's pretty cute. And y'all will approve, and that thing will happen. But
See, I was totally foreign to all of that because I spent most of my life doing homework,
right,
engineering, and so did my girlfriend at the time because my wife was pre-med, I was engineering, so we were just, and not only that, but like. I don't have all the extensive dating experience. My wife was my first girlfriend. So I'm like, wow. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Man, oh man.
You lucked out. Okay. Good for you.
He did. Josh, that's funny. We so wouldn't have been friends in high school. I'm so glad that we met later.
I know, right?
I'm so glad that we met later so we can actually be friends.
You're the kind of people that ticked me off when I was in college. Right? I'm sitting there holed up for 6 hours a night doing differential equations. You're going to concerts and skipping exams.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase skipping exams. I was late for one exam. I was getting Kent out of jail. I thought it was a good idea to get Kent out of jail than to go to my exam. Just me. But in Richmond, Virginia, he got put in jail, so I had to stay over till Monday to get him out. Anyway, I wish I was making that up. Was that a dead show? That's a surprise.
I was late for an exam because I was still working on thermodynamics homework.
Okay, I know.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask Cindy, please understand, I have to live with this every week. You understand what I have to go through. They don't give me hazard pay.
No, this is one of the reasons that our relationship and this podcast works is because of the opposites that we grew up and, how we are able to. That's why we started the podcast. I'd ask Josh questions. And he'd give me a wonderful answer. I go, man, people need to know about this. People need to ask you about Bible and ask you about other stuff. We need to know.
People need to hear Josh talk more. What?
So let's do it. No, it was about.
No, they don't.
It was about flattening the curve. It was about flattening the curve for COVID, and I wanted to know what that meant because I heard everybody talking about it, and he explained it to me in such a way that. Wow, I understand that. Let's get this out there. But anyway, that's the way it is.
You got me on a math question.
Yep. All right, so let me tell you.
My second love.
That's right.
The only other girlfriend I've had is math.
My name is me, Deb in math. That's it. Quick question. Quick story about Buddy, and we can transition. So after I had open heart surgery, Don and I were up at the hospital, and it was I think 2 or 3 days after the surgery. 2 days after the surgery, and I was still in a gown, and because I had incisions all over me, and Cindy and Buddy came up and visited. And we met them down in a Subway restaurant in the hospital. Right. And we're sitting there, and I got a gown on. I've got,
It's not the one you usually wear either.
No, it's not it was an evening gown.
Yes.
I had shorts on under it and whatever. And I don't think I had an IV. Did I have an IV? I don't remember if I did or not.
I think you were dragging a pole.
Was I dragging a pole?
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
So I was dragging. You can see it, right? I'm dragging a pole. And we're sitting there talking. And listen, I was ready to go. I was ready to get to the house. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was depressed. And that morning before y'all came, I was in tears just because, man, I can't. I just don't want to be here anymore. Mm-hmm. And they were telling me this is way too much information, but they said you have to have a bowel movement before you go, and I didn't have one. And they're like, I don't know when I'm gonna go home. I don't feel anywhere close to that. So anyway, I'm in tears, going, man, this is killing me.
You're at the wrong restaurant. You should have been at a Taco Bell.
I know, right? Right, that's right. So we're sitting there. We're sitting across from y'all, Donna and I, and Buddy and Cindy. I don't have any idea what he was saying.
He was just being Buddy.
I don't know what he was saying, but he had me laughing so much that Cindy said,
like, you're leaking, Destry. Something. What is going on?
My incisions.
Oh, your incision. I thought this was doing the bowel movement.
No, didn't have a bowel movement then. I would have been okay with that.
Exactly.
I had
this story's gotten weird.
You know, those gowns are really thin, and so Cindy said, "Dude, you're leaking." I was laughing so much that my incisions just started oozing stuff out, and it was really the first time that I had laughed since coming out of the operating room. So it meant so much to both of us, to Donna and myself, because she was the one that was having to put up with all this bullcrap. So I've been ever indebted to him for that. It's always something I'll never forget. And if I can find it, I'll send you a picture so you can put it in here of us getting our pictures taken. I'm wearing that beautiful gown. I don't know if you can see the stains or not, but it's whenever we took a picture right before y'all left.
Buddy's a deacon in our church, and that's one of the things they kind of told him after he went to the hospital and visited a few times. It's like, maybe going and visiting at the hospital is not a good thing, because
you killed him with laughter.
Exactly. He's so loud, for one.
He's pretty loud.
And when he
You're busting stitches.
He is, and that's his defense. When he's nervous, he just wants to make you laugh, and so you've got these people in the hospital, and he's putting, he's the one that puts the glove over his head and blows it up like Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
We had a friend that had surgery, and that's what he's walking around, and he's got the...
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so
that's who he is.
But they don't call Buddy to go to the hospital too much. They have him run the other errands that need to be done.
No funerals.
Well, it's funny because Buddy does look like our pastor. I mean, people think they're brothers a lot, and he'll go and people will come up to him and they're always so nice to him, which a lot of times the pastor will call Buddy and say, so-and-so sent me an email about my sermon, or, I saw him out and they just ripped me a new one.
Oh, my gosh, really?
People just sometimes aren't real nice to pastors. And, and Buddy will go, well, that's funny when they think I'm, you out. They're always so nice to me and give me all the compliments. And he was at a funeral, and Burr had done it. The funeral, and afterwards Buddy was walking out, and this lady was chasing us out of the funeral, and she was going, great job, you did a great job, and it was so kind of you to come. And Buddy's like, but I didn't do the funeral. Oh, you go ahead and take credit for it. And,
I know it was God, but you were there.
And he's like, and finally he just goes, thank you, And so he'll call our pastor and say, I saw so-and-so, and they, they thought it was you, but... So.
This compliment is really for you.
Yeah.
I'm just the messenger.
Yeah. And Destry, I see.
Just a vessel.
You don't have a ring on.
I don't have a ring on. That's another thing Buddy said. He called me up the other day and said, why don't you wear a ring? Well, the original ring, I'm too fat. But anyway, the original ring that I was wearing, I think Buddy pays attention to that because whenever Donna and I were getting married, I was looking at her, and we had not, this is part of our testimony, we had not kissed or obviously anything before we got married.
They've never kissed.
So I was looking at Donna, and I know I wasn't consciously thinking I'm about to kiss that girl big time. I wasn't thinking that, but I'm sure whatever. So we were really into what
It was beautiful.
we were
moment.
really into that moment with each other, and you were very close. You and Buddy were only two back.
Right.
Her sister Hope dropped the ring. That she was the ring bearer. She dropped the ring. Her children, twins were the ring bearers, and Hope had the ring, and she had twins in her arms. And yeah, she had twins in her arms. And the pastor says something about where the ring. Do you have the rings? And she didn't realize she had dropped the ring. Right.
And looking, and it's like.
And what happened? Do you remember?
And I kind of nudged Buddy, and Buddy just kind of ran up to him and gave him his wedding ring.
The pastor gave the pastor, and we had no idea until after the ceremony. All I knew is that Donna put the ring on my finger, and I went, "That's not the ring." Okay, whatever.
It's a ring.
Who am I marrying? Is this a Rachel Leah thing?
Thank goodness Buddy was there. I mean, right on time, and for you saying,
kind of, casually went up there and
never knew it. Donna never knew it. I never knew it. It never crossed our mind because we were so into what we were doing. But thank you for that. That's another thing I owe Buddy for, and you for giving that. It fit perfect.
Destry got married with our wedding band. So.
Sure did. Sure did. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So let's transition over. Cindy, you're a devout Christian. What's your favorite Bible study or book of the Bible, or is there anything that you perk up and go, yeah, I'm always excited about reading about that?
Well, my favorite verse, of course, is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So I think reading in Philippians, he talks about being a servant, and I mean, to think that Paul was in prison when he wrote it, and and he still was so encouraging, and so I just take a lot from that. Recently at my church, I am part of this. Now that I'm retired, you get put in that group of,
okay,
and so
you have time to do everything.
We have started a senior ministry. And when I was asked to be on the committee and kind of help, I didn't realize that just about everybody's like my mom that I'm taking care of. And so, so I just kind of take them all in. And, when we go on these adventures, I'm just kind of hurdling them and trying to get them.
Senior citizens around town.
And they are always so appreciative, and they tell me that I have a servant's heart, which I think that is one of my gifts.
Okay.
Is hospitality and a servant, because I enjoy it so much. So when I can read and be encouraged about being a servant and what it means to be a servant.
You're starting a new ministry. You started a new ministry. Or maybe you're doing that before you retired also. I don't know. But that sounds like it's part of your ministry now.
Right. So,
that?
So.
Very nice.
Anyway, I have about 25 or 30 that once a month we meet, and it's been fun.
Take them down to some rock and roll concerts.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a weird question. You mentioned Philippians, and the weird question is, have you ever looked into your own genealogy, like where your family comes from, like originally?
I have not.
Okay.
So, Buddy finds it so interesting that you talk on genealogy. He loves it. So.
Well, because
other than I know that mine and Destry's grandfather was part Indian, and I did ask, and we were Seminole and Cherokee. No, Seminole and
Was it Creek, maybe?
maybe.
He grew up in Crestview, right? So whatever would be
That's
around
probably the Creek.
Hammer Creek.
Okay.
Seminole. Okay, I didn't know that.
well, because usually we'll have some part of our ancestry. I know I do that traces back to Europe. Like on my mom's side, it goes back to like Great Britain and kind of stops there, and it's been there for I mean, I've gone all the way back to like the 1100s, and it's always Great Britain. On my dad's side, it's like Germany, and going back, deep into the Holy Roman Empire, like that's where my paternal ancestry comes from,
Wow.
is Europe. And what's interesting to me about history is when we look at Scripture, when the church was born, it was born in Jerusalem. And, Jesus, because when Jesus started his ministry, it was Jerusalem, then Judea, which is the southern kingdom, then Samaria, which was the old northern kingdom, then the uttermost parts of the world. And so when you get to Acts and, time of the apostles and Paul and all them, Paul has this vision from a Macedonian that's calling him to Philippi. And, and this results in him starting a church in Philippi, which later on Philippians is written to them. But that's a really interesting place because when you look at like just geographically how the church grew, there was like this physical barrier going into Europe. It was this mountain range in northern Greece. And there's like this little path through the mountains that goes through the city of Philippi. It was named after Philip the Macedon. And Philippi, there was a battle, I think, between Mark Antony and Julius Caesar, and because Philippi was the stage for that, Philippi ended up being granted, like even though it wasn't, they weren't Roman, because Philippi was involved in this war, anyone in Philippi was granted Roman citizenship. And so you had all the rights of someone who was from Rome and all this stuff. Well, you have Paul coming into starting this church in Philippi and later visiting and this church growing because of its location. This is how the gospel crossed the mountains and got into Europe. And because they were Roman citizens, like if you were a member of if you were a citizen of Philippi, you could go to Rome and have the same privileges of citizenship there. And so you see the church starting in Philippi and then eventually spreading into Rome and eventually spreading into the rest of Europe. And so if like my German family was a Christian family, and so you can trace the lineage, like your DNA lineage, to a certain people group, but when you trace that like religious lineage, eventually it goes to Philippi because that was its entrance, the gospel's entrance into Europe. I think that's cool because when you're reading Acts or reading Philippians, it's like, well, this is my history as well.
Right.
Wow, that's really cool.
So yeah, interesting. Not what I was thinking about talking about today, but it's cool nonetheless.
It is cool. Well, real quick, can you highlight what we talked about last night? At least, I'm loving the topic that you're talking about. How can we be sure that what we're reading now is accurate to what God wants us to read?
Yeah, like how did we get our Bible?
How did we get our Bible?
Yeah,
it's
and because we've been talking about that for the past several weeks, and it's weird how these Bible studies in our group kind of evolved because we were doing a series on the Book of Esther because our pastor was going through the Book of Esther, and so we were doing sort of a companion series about the history of it. And that same time period was, the same time period as Ezra and Nehemiah, because this was all Persian Empire stuff. And so we started talking about Ezra and Nehemiah coming back and rebuilding the temple and rebuilding Jerusalem. But Ezra specifically, he was a scribe, and we see a lot of scribal tradition either originating during the time of Ezra or like being organized, more widely organized during the time of Ezra. And so when we're reading our English translation, whatever that is, that usually comes from one or a few of like four basic sources of the Old Testament. And so we've been talking about things like the Samaritan text, a version of the Old Testament that originated in the northern kingdom of Israel, because when Ezra and Nehemiah were rebuilding the temple, people from the previously conquered northern kingdom came down and were sort of rejected, and so they went back and they have their own textual tradition, which like adds an 11th commandment to the 10 commandments that says, now go to Mount Gerizim and build a temple there, and that's where you'll worship me. And so we see that Samaritan text sort of evolving from that point. And then we see, during the time of Jeremiah, a lot of Jews in Judah and in Jerusalem specifically saw the armies of Nebuchadnezzar like advancing and decided to run, and they took Jeremiah with them. Against Jeremiah's advice, against God's advice, they ran from Babylon and ended up seeking refuge in Egypt, and they stayed there. And a lot of Jewish communities ended up growing in Egypt. And so after the Persian Empire came Alexander the Great, the Macedonia and the Greek Empire. After him came the Hellenistic era, where you have his 4 generals sort of splitting up that whole empire. And between the 2 testaments, there's a lot of interaction between what used to be Egypt, well, I mean, still Egypt, but it was under the rule of one of Alexander's general, Ptolemy, and the area around Judea, which was another general named Seleucus. So there was the Ptolemaic Empire and the Seleucid Empire, and they're always fighting each other. And you see Judea sort of in the middle of this, like being owned by the Ptolemaic Empire, then the Seleucid Empire, and that kind of going back and forth. But Ptolemy, he decided, he was really into books and decided, to build this huge library, the Library of Alexandria. And one of his big projects that he commissioned was, there's a huge Jewish community in Egypt. And so he commissioned a bunch of scholars from Jerusalem, 72 of them, to come and translate the first 5 books of the Old Testament into Greek. And then later on, the remaining books of the Old Testament were translated into Greek. But this became known as the Septuagint. So that's like one of these other 4 sources, because that document still exists. Became one of the sources of the Old Testament that we have. And then the one we talked about last night, because we're eventually going to get to the Dead Sea Scrolls, but between Septuagint and Dead Sea Scrolls, there's another scribal tradition that formalized a lot of the processes of that scribes would use. And in the New Testament, we read several times where Jesus encounters scribes, and it's usually in a negative context because the scribes were, their entire life was built around creating copies of Scripture, so they knew it frontwards and backwards, and they saw Jesus as they saw him as not the Messiah, but as someone who was trying to bring in some new message or whatever. But like when one of the, I think, second chapter in the New Testament, Matthew 2, we encounter Herod and the wise men. This is part of that Christmas story where they come to Herod. They come to Herod, like, hey, we're here to see the King of the Jews, which is kind of a problem with Herod because he's the King of the Jews, right? And so these guys, these big important people from a empire to the east of them, probably ancient Babylon or whatever. They're coming like, hey, we're looking for someone else who's the King of the Jews, not you. And so,
what an insult to him.
Yeah, it was an insult to him because they said we want to worship him, and the way the Roman Empire worked is you worship the leadership. You don't worship, someone who's potentially an attack on that leadership. And so Herod, he lies to him. Is like, well, I'd like to know where this guy is too, so I can do the same thing. And so who does he consult? Scribes, because he asks the scribes, what are they talking about? Where is this guy supposed to be? And so they immediately bring up scripture from the prophets in the Old Testament and say, well, this is where it's not called the Old Testament at the time. This is where the scriptures say that this guy is supposed to show up. And so we encounter scribes in the New Testament who are still carrying on this ancient tradition of making copies of the Hebrew Bible. And because that was such an important job, because the document they were working with was so important, they formalized a lot of the rules about and the processes about making copies to ensure that letters that looked the same didn't end up getting mistaken for each other, or making sure that they weren't able that when they finished making a copy that there was the same number of words, there was the same number of letters. They would one of the most popular sources of the Old Testament scriptures that we have is called the Masoretic text, and the reason it gets its name is because this body of scribes started making notes in the margins called Masorah, and what they would do is they would say, like, okay, this portion of scripture has this many words and has this many letters, and the center word is this, and the center letter is this, and that way, after they're done making a copy, they can go back and count and make sure, like, there's all these ways of ensuring that the copy was accurate. And
early
even
fact checking, really, in
Right.
a way,
Right.
right?
exactly, yeah, it was a very tedious but very, very thorough process of copying, and those marginal notes were called Masorah. So you get that term, Masoretic text. But they would also make like advisory rules in there, because the Hebrew doesn't have any vowels, doesn't have any punctuation. But in order to speak it and translate it, you have to have that component to it. So they formalized how vowels and like punctuation and stuff were made. But because also Hebrew scriptures were often sung in the synagogues, they would put in like formalized cantillation marks, like how is this set to music. So all of that stuff was part of this like Masoretic tradition that like formalized the process of making one copy into another. And so now we have these ancient copies of the Masoretic text that's used as a basis for a lot of the translations we read today. So we have Samaritan text, the Septuagint, Masoretic text. Next time we're going to talk about the Dead Sea Scrolls, because when those scrolls were found, it predated all of the copies that we had, and so we were able to go back and compare. Wow, this is really pretty dang accurate for being copies of copies, and there were subtle differences here and there that were like copyist things, but on the whole, it gave us confidence that what we're reading now is really, 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 really close to what the original documents were, and you can see that it really hasn't changed much.
And the changes that are there are not contextual changes.
Right, they're not things that change the overall thrust of Scripture. They might be minute details,
Right.
like how old someone was when their son was born, but nothing that changes anything dogmatic or doctrinal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Were the scribes kind of like Pharisees?
No, there are two different groups. So the Pharisees were like the lawyers at the time. They were the ones who were the experts in how the law should be applied.
Okay.
And then the scribes, they were responsible for copying. And then you have the Sadducees, which they were kind of like the more liberal class of the day. They associated their identity with like the works of the temple. So the Sadducees kind of disappear after AD 70 because the temple got destroyed, and Sadducees aren't there anymore. So there's and then there's the Zealots, which were like it was more of a political class who were really into reestablishing the kingdom of Israel, all that stuff. But when Jerusalem got destroyed and everyone got scattered, those kind of went away. But then there's another group that's a little bit lesser known that we'll talk about next time with the Dead Sea Scrolls, called the Essenes. These are like the super conservative, like even the Pharisees have gone soft. Like, we're going to go out in the desert and just be super fundamental and like hardcore. We're just going to make copies of stuff, and be really into apocalyptic literature and
Boy, things haven't changed very much.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about different gangs, different fraternities, different groups of people that maybe have slightly different beliefs, but we're all trying to push what we believe, or we're all saying what we believe is 100%. Times really haven't changed that much, even back in biblical days. We have more technology, we have more things, but behavior is behavior, I think.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because like all of these groups had, like none of these groups were perfect people. Obviously, they all had their problems. Jesus encounters the Pharisees and the scribes and the Sadducees all throughout the New Testament. Yeah. And it's usually in a bad context, like they're doing something wrong. They're misinterpreting something about, the messianic purpose or something about the history of their own people or something like that. However, God always uses those people to do amazing things. Like even though they weren't even aware of how God, like the scribes, they weren't probably aware of how God was using them. They're still responsible, flawed as they were, for preserving these traditions that give us an accurate Bible today. So I think that's kind of neat how, like, even though we're messed up, and even though we don't know it half the time, God's still using us to accomplish things.
Thank God He does that. Thank God He continues to do that.
Right. That He has the plan.
Right. Even when we mess it up, He veers or whatever it is to
gets us back.
Yes,
right. I mean, or even when like kings of Assyria and kings of Babylon, kings of Persia, like that were consciously trying to go against God's purpose or whatever. Like Israel was their enemy, and Israel's God was their enemy. Yeah. God still used their actions and their decisions to further His own will. So I mean, it's when you talk about the sovereignty of God over history, it's impossible not to see it.
Right. It is. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
Awesome as always. Chris, I know you always want to know what I've been listening to. I mean, it keeps you up at night, and I understand that. So I'm going to quench that question right now. That was a big surprise. Been listening to Linda Ronstadt. Have you ever seen Linda?
I don't think so.
I don't know if I'd ever forget if I saw her.
No, that's what I'm thinking. If I would have seen her, because I love her music.
To me, there's very few people that are more perfect in their voice than she is. Anyway, this is anti-AI, and I'm still on an anti-AI run. So I will continue to listen to Linda Ronstadt until I get sick of her, which won't happen. And then I put some Grateful Dead in, and I'm cleansed, right? Then I'll start letting some more AI in just a little bit, and then I'll go back to Aerosmith or whoever else, Grateful Dead, Metallica. I love it, because that's what it's done for me, Josh and Cindy and Chris lately is. I don't even want to, like I said last time, I don't even want to put up with it right. I'm not ready to land on anything.
Right.
What I want to do is pay tribute to the people that we know are real. What AI wishes they could sing like Linda Ronstadt. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Nobody can sing. We've mentioned some people that have perfect voices: Adele, Linda Ronstadt. What are some other? What's your favorite?
Alison Krauss.
Alison Krauss. Yeah. Technically, these people have perfect or close to perfect voices as we Freddie Mercury, perhaps, one of the perfect tone voices. But I love going back in the 70s, watching these documentaries, these videos about that music. What was Linda Ronstadt doing whenever she recorded this? What was she doing? She was with the Eagles a lot of times. She's the one that pretty much made the Eagles be who they are because she put two people together in the Eagles, and then from there it grew. That's a real story.
Yeah, you can't get that from an AI generated. Yeah,
you can't.
There is no documentary about their life.
That's right. That's right. And you see interviews of other people saying the same thing, separate from what Linda was saying. She says, "Yeah, I met these guys, and I thought they'd sound really good together, and I convinced them to suggested they do this." She stepped back. Eagles performed.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. One of the documentaries that I've been watching is about and I'll talk about this next week, and we're about to close. So it's about a guy who was in the Drive-By Truckers. Does that sound familiar? Drive-By Truckers. They were a band that's kind of country, kind of rock. It kind of had their own genre. It was good, but man, these guys partied. Good gosh, they had liquor bottles on stage. They were just developing their testimony. And he came out of the band. He was one of the top guys. He came out of the band. He married another artist, a fiddle player. And this documentary is about how they're creating an album with her and him in this very unique way. He's such an artist. He's such a poet. He writes his music. It's beautiful, beautiful poetry that he puts to music. And it's about their life. And there's no indication at all that they're believers. And what I said before about divorce being one of the first options of getting out of a marriage or not fixing a marriage and just divorcing, man, it just seemed to me, it was breaking my heart whenever I saw these guys going through these times of not agreeing. And at least the way the documentary is put together, it's like as soon as they started not agreeing, they started talking about divorce. Like it was one step away. That's the way the documentary is put together. If that's real life, I don't know. But I think it reflects real life these days. We're not getting along. Well, I'm going to call my lawyer. You got him on speed dial. What in the world?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm delving more into them, and I'll talk more about them next time and see what happens. But is anybody else? I'm going to close if anybody else has anything. Cindy, thank you for being here.
Thank you for
Yeah, this was
having
fun.
me, guys.
Really
This was
appreciate
fun.
it. Thank you.
It's nice having a buffer between.
It is. So tomorrow is a very important day in my life, in my wife's life. We will be married 27 years.
Yes.
27 years tomorrow. And Donna, I always end these podcasts by saying I love you. And I can't tell you how much that means to me. So we're going to cut this out, okay? And because I'm going to have a hard time getting through it. 27 years ago, wow, we stood there. Cindy was there.
Yes.
Cindy and Buddy allowed us to use their wedding ring to get married because we lost ours. So 27 years ago, we stood there, and one of our testimonies in our marriage is that we did not even we stayed clean as we were saved. We did not kiss. We did not do anything like that until we got married, and we wanted that to be a part of our testimony. And I'm thankful, so thankful for that. And ever since then, I really believe that God has blessed us in a way that has brought us through so many things, including open heart surgery. Cindy was there also for that, and Buddy, a broken femur, a stroke not long ago, or something close to a stroke, and stuff that we're going through right now, losing all of our little fur babies. We've never had kids, so we adored our little fur babies, and we helped each other through that. The loss of your father, my father, Uncle Bill, Cindy's father. We've been through a whole lot together, and I could not have made it without you. And I love you. And we'll see everybody next week. Bye-bye.